Hello and welcome for another video. I think the question you're asking is, are we there yet? The answer, unfortunately, is no. We are not there yet, but we are closer than the last video. So in today's video, we are going to talk about Active Directory, a little bit in terms of Active Directory, and not just Active Directory. We will be talking about the schema in Active Directory. So Configuration Manager can have the option to extend the schema in Active Directory or not. So if you don't know what the schema in Active Directory, imagine that it's kind of a table or a database. There is a table and the table has some attributes or fields. It's exactly the same. So schema is the database, classes will be the table, and the attributes will be the fields. So Configuration Manager can add some information to the Active Directory. So when the client needs some information, instead of connecting directly to the Configuration Manager infrastructure, you could find this information via Active Directory. This information could even be which one is the Configuration Manager server that I need to connect to, instead of just try or maybe even not connecting to any Configuration Manager server because it doesn't know. So on this documentation here, we have the prepared Active Directory for site publishing. So this tells you how we can extend the schema. We can extend the schema in two ways. One is using the extadsch.exe tool, and the other one is using the LD file. So we are going to be using the extadsch tool. So .exe, that's quite simple and easy. But when we think about the schema, we need to know what is going to happen. So Configuration Manager adds some classes. You can see here there are 4 classes and a few attributes. So this is for the Configuration Manager client, for example, to find who are the Configuration Manager servers or the boundaries or the managing points and so on. And don't worry if you haven't understood what I just said. We are going to look at those things later on. And on this page here about schema extensions for Configuration Manager, it tells you everything you need to know. If your environment had a red Configuration Manager 2007 or 2012 and the schema has been extended, there is nothing new in the schema. But just bear in mind, as soon as I extend the schema, there is no way back. And the schema is for the whole forest, it's not just for the domain. So before you actually try to do this, talk to your Active Directory guys, if you're doing this in production, and send the links they can actually read, but it will a lot help your life in terms of management the Configuration Manager clients. So what are we going to do? So let's go here on the Active Directory server. And what we are going to do is, let me just connect to the media. So the Configuration Manager media now. And on the media, if we go to SMS setup, being x86, we have a tool called extadsch. This is the tool that we are going to be using. Basically, if you have the rights to extend the schema, it's quite simple. Alternatively, what you can do is, there is this LD file. Okay, so it's also on the same folder, and it's called config mgr ad schema ldf. And let me just open this on Notepad. And if you are going to do this using the LD file, remember you need to actually open, and you need to change a couple of things here. Basically, everything that's DC equals X, you need to put your information. So you need to change, save this elsewhere, and then execute this file. So, and you can see here, this file hasn't changed in quite some time. The version is 1.1 from 2005. So, but this is not our case. We are going to use the extaddsch.exe. So what I'm going to do now is open the command prompt as administrator and browse to that folder. Okay, and now execute extaddsch. Before doing that, let me show you on the C drive that we don't have any logs here. And as soon as I click, the schema has been extended, but let's see exactly if it has. So if we open here the log, you can see here that it added some classes and attributes. So, and we don't have any error. What we have is successfully extended the Active Directory schema. And we can run this tool as many times as we'd like. I don't recommend. But the tool will identify that the attributes already exist and it will not do anything. As you can see here, I just run the tool again, and you can see here, attribute already exist, and the class here on the bottom already exist. So there is nothing that will be breaking if you run this twice. Okay? The other thing we need to do is not just extend the schema, but prepare Active Directory for Configuration Manager. What I mean by that is we need to create a folder in Active Directory so Configuration Manager can add information to that folder using those attributes and classes. In this case here, I'm going to use the ADSI edit file. I'm going to connect to my namespace, my computer, or my server. And now double click the full name context, DC, and your domain controllers, and you have here CN equals system. So here is where we are going to create our folders or folder. And if I go back to the documentation, we can see here the system management container is a step 2 when you extend the schema. So it talks here how exactly you need to do. So we need to create here the system management container. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click here, system, new object. And the type of object will be container. The name or the value will be system management. And then finish. You can see here now we have CN equal system management. What I'm going to do now is give the configuration manager site server full rights to this container. So in this case, right click properties, security, and here in advanced. So I'm going to give the configuration manager server, remember we create a group. So I'm going to add a group that SCCM site servers. I'm going to give full control. And remember here applies to make sure is this object and all descendants objects. And click OK. And then click apply. And now we can see here on the top, this SCCM site servers group has full control for this object and all descendants objects. And click OK and OK. So now the Active Directory schema is extended. So when we install Configuration Manager, we will be publishing some information in Active Directory so the client can actually connect to Active Directory and see where it needs to go. But before we do that, I want you to like the video, share with your friends, co-workers, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, that little bell icon so you'll be notified every time we upload a new content. But we are not going to do this in this video. On the next video, we're going to start preparing the Configuration Manager server. Stay tuned and see you on the next one.